I'll put it this way. Let's jump to this next segment. We'll just say this. World War III is racing civil war. Because while we're hearing about stories in like West Virginia about bombs, we have this one. A murder in Russia. I'm sure many of you have already heard. I believe it was Saturday evening. Alexander Dugin's daughter was assassinated in a car bombing. Now, initially, they said it was meant for him. For those that aren't familiar with Dugin, he is a highly influential philosopher, nationalist in Russia. He's been referred to as Putin's brain or his spirit guide or the spirit guide of Ukrainian invasion, all of those things. While simultaneously, some have also downplayed his influence in the Russian government. He's not explicitly a member of Putin's inner circle or anything like that. The Atlantic writes about it. Why an Assassination in Moscow Matters to Ukraine and the West by Tom Nichols. Oh, we love this guy, huh? He calls him a Russian fascist. The daughter of a prominent Russian fascist was killed in a car bombing in Moscow. Most Americans have no idea who the Dugin family is, but this event could have serious repercussions in Russia and Ukraine. So I don't want to jump the gun and say that this is World War III's Franz Ferdinand moment. Franz Ferdinand was like a royal family guy, right?
Yeah, Archduke.
Yeah, and so when they killed him, like you've pissed off someone's family member, and then they all go to war with each other. This is like an influential guy in Russia's daughter. But then I want to point out too, the counterpoint there is, while for those reasons it may not be the catalyst for an escalation, we're also in the influence era. We're in the influence economy. So it is not necessarily politicians or royal family that have the most influence. Kim Kardashian has more influence than every single politician. And so someone who's that influential in social has more social credit than a politician. Something affecting them will matter more. So the way I described it earlier today, if they had killed Dugin, I think the impact would have been substantially less. People in the Russian government would be like, this is horrifying. I can't believe they did this. Instead, they killed Dugin's daughter, whoever did it. It was reported by Russian authorities, CNN repeated the reporting, that they were observing the vehicle and remotely detonated. They chose to detonate it. It wasn't like she turned the car and it went off. Someone pressed a button. So presumably they knew it was her. This is substantially worse because Dugin is the man of influence. And now all of that pain that he has will be channeled into the influence he uses. And it will be heard over and over and over again by all of his followers and his followers that are in the government. So this has now given him a reason to call for more war, more retribution, more anger. And he will drive that, to his followers.
I don't know. On its face, it looks like Ukrainians killed Dugin's daughter as retaliation for the war in Ukraine. But I was reading an article and they're like, false. This is a textbook Russian false flag could be a textbook Russian false flag operation. And then I started picturing like a conversation between Dugin and Putin, and Dugin's like, I would give everything for this country, Vladimir, everything. And Vladimir's like, you would give everything? And he's like, yeah, I would. And then Putin's like, all right, well, then I'll kill his daughter. Because and I don't even feel guilty about it because he already said he'd sacrifice everything for it. So
reportedly he has said things about sacrificing everything for the cause and things like that. But to this extent, I would just say it is the simple solution that they blew up his car and it was the wrong person. It's the simple solution that this guy is a nationalist, powerful influencer, and they wanted him gone. I mean, he's an influential guy. I mean, people in the West have interviewed him. His ideas have spread all across Europe. Not saying they're completely dominant across Europe, but a lot of people have listened to this guy. And if you take a look at the expansion of right-wing nationalism across Europe, well, there are certainly many people who don't like nationalism or the right who would look at him as one of the key components of pushing those ideas. So Occam's razor would suggest, in the absence of evidence, the solution that makes the least amount of assumptions, that's it. Internationalist forces, probably Ukrainian, targeted him in Moscow, killed his daughter. I'll put it this way too. The reason it's simple solution that it's Ukraine. I'm not trying to blame them, to call them any names or anything, but to point out it's probably them. When you are the weaker fighting force, typically you see these groups engage in more terroristic activities and targeted assassinations and things like this because it's the best they could do in the conflict. For Russia, they're looking at a conventional war. You go in, send in the tanks, send in the troops, drop the bombs. For Ukraine, which is, I think, like the poorest country in Europe, and it's like the only country to get poorer after the fall of the Soviet Union, they're thinking we have to do whatever it takes. and we don't have much capabilities. Guerrilla warfare it is. Hit him in Moscow.